Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another issue, another episode of Ask Huda. I'm your host Jamil Rashid, and I'd like to welcome back Sheikh Muhammad Salah with us today. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair for being with us, Sheikh.
A pleasure.
Okay, brothers and sisters, let me remind you of our telephone numbers. The country code is 202, then it's 38555 248 or 249. Our email address is ask@hudatv. And just two announcements, the same as usual. Please do call us early. We've got a lot of calls and a lot of people disappointed. And the second is, please, if you do call, turn down your television sets. Sheikh, I want to start off with a question from Sister Amina from Egypt. A very straightforward question and something poignant because it's something that's happening presently in front of us every day. She's asking the question about suicide bombings. She's asking, are they allowed in Islam? Is this part of jihad, Sheikh?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم من همزه ونفخه ونفثه بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على نبيه ومصطفى سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Praise be to Allah who praise Him and who seek His help. Whomsoever Allah guides is the truly guided one, and whomsoever Allah leaves astray, no one can show him guidance. I send the best peace and salutation upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. In the sound hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, من قتل نفسه بشيء فإنه يعذب به في نار جهنم خالدا فيها مخلدا. And this is a very severe and serious warning against committing suicide in general. Islam totally prohibits committing suicide. This body of yours, you're entrusted to look after it. This is an amana, but you do not really own it. You cannot get rid of your life and take your life whenever you want for any reason. Even if one is suffering the most in this life, he's been tested, and no one is allowed to take his or anybody else's life under any circumstances except for a just cause such as killing for killing, al-qasas, al-hudud, etc. The hadith says, whosoever kills himself by any means, using any tool, he will be tortured on the day of judgment in hell using the same tool or the same mean. In another hadith it explains, if somebody threw himself off a mountain, he will keep throwing himself off a mountain, off a high mountain in the fire of hell. Then he will be given life again, and he will redo it over and over and over. The worst part of it is that the Prophet ﷺ said, the worst part of the torment is that the Prophet ﷺ said, خَالِدًا فِيهَا مُخَلَّدًا, confirming that this kind of punishment is eternal. So killing oneself is one of the greatest sins ever. And accordingly, it's not permissible for anyone to kill himself for any cause. What about suicide bombers? In the name of jihad, in the name of defending oneself and country and so on. Some people rely on an incident where a companion by the name of Bara ibn Malik in a battle of Bani Hanifa asked the companions to throw him above their high elevated wall. Then he managed to enter it, and he fought, and he was able to open the doors. We say that he was not certain that he would be killed, or otherwise it would be suicide, because he was planning, whenever once he enters it, he will unlock the doors, and he managed to do that. But if there is certainty that whoever is wearing a belt and he's gonna blow up himself, he's gonna die, then he's not supposed to do that under any circumstances. This is one thing. Look at the risk of doing such thing, of targeting, maybe you're targeting one person, but other civilians and innocent people might get killed as well during this process. So that's one thing that An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam warned us. Islam allows us to fight on the battlefield and to fight bravely, and He warned those who turn their backs and run away from the battlefield. Allah the Almighty says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَنفُسَهُمْ وَأَمْوَالَهُمْ بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. Allah has purchased from the believers themselves, their souls, their lives, their bodies, and their wealth. For the price, paradise. For the price, Al-Jannah. What kind of purchase is this? The deal is that يُقَاتِلُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, they fight for the sake of Allah. Listen to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. He said, فَيَقْتُلُونَ وَيُقْتَلُونَ. So they kill their enemies, and they might get killed. That's a possibility. But they fight, they combat on the battlefield, they kill others and they might get killed. وعدا عليه حقا في التوراة والإنجيل, etc. The ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, this promise is a promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the truth, that was stated in, not just in the Quran, in the Torah, in the Gospel, in the Old and New Testament, the original text of course, and so forth. So the deal is to fight, is not to kill yourself, is not to commit suicide. So basically, fighting against the enemies, warriors, and their assistance is permissible by every possible means. But do not kill yourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An-Nisa, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِكُمْ رَحِيمًا. Don't you kill yourselves, because Allah is merciful with you. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking after you, and out of mercy He doesn't want you to kill yourselves, then you must comply and avoid committing suicide. And we do not differentiate between committing suicide among civilians, or just somebody wants to get rid of his life because he's sick or she's fat, like what they do in the West out of depression. And those who have done it out of ignorance, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them as well.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Okay, the first caller today, Brother Abid from Qatar. Brother, you're live and ask your question, please.
Okay, assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I have two questions here.
Okay.
My first question is, a person has divorced his first wife, then he marries again and has more children. Are these children mahram for the first wife? Okay, and my second question is,
okay,
we usually get emails or we hear rumors or from the internet that Sadia chicken or this is not halal, or Pepsi has a pig powder in it, and KFC is supported by Israel or something. What should one do in this circumstance? Okay, thank you very much.
Barakallah feek.
You're welcome.
Okay, that's Brother Abid from Qatar. Next we have Sister Khadija from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Sister, you're live and ask her your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Walaikum assalam wa
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, I've got maybe a very strange question, but I'd like to know regarding the men on Hajj when they're in Ihram. I've seen and I've experienced in the family members that the men are suffering really in some instances regarding, I think in between their legs, that the skin is rubbing off or something of the kind.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything medication-wise that they can use?
Okay.
You're talking about the inflammation that happens during Ihram?
Yes.
Yeah, when they're in Ihram, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yes, there is.
Okay, Jazakallah.
Inshallah will answer you.
Okay.
Barakallah feek. Sister Khadija there from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Okay, let's get back to some of these questions. We had a question from Sister Lurjan. Okay, she says, can we give gifts to our friends on their birthdays? Remember, our sister's 8 years old here.
In Islam, we do not celebrate birthdays because it's not prescribed nor is it allowed. The only celebrations in Islam is the 2 Eids and every Friday. These are our Eids, which the Prophet ﷺ prescribed for us, and he prohibited the Ummah from celebrating any other Eids, and accordingly it's not allowed to exchange gifts on any other occasion, considering this occasion as Eid.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Okay, Sister Hajar from Nigeria asked a question regarding the proper hijab. What is the proper hijab is her question, Shaykh.
Well, first of all, what is the meaning of hijab? Allah the Almighty says in the Quran, في Surah Al-Ahzab in verse number 53, فَاسْأَلُوهُنَّ مِنْ وَرَاءِ hijab, which means وَإِذَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُنَّ مَتَاعًا, and whenever you ask them for anything, then you should ask them from behind a hijab. What is the meaning of a hijab? Is a barrier. So the hijab is a screen or a veil. It could be second solid, it could be a wall, it could be a fence, it could be a building, it could be a door. But for women, as far as what they wear is a barrier that prevents or screen them totally so that they will not be seen. Any part of their bodies is a awra. So the Quran tells us that the entire body of a woman is a awra for non-mahrams, for men who are not her mahrams. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says في Surah An-Nur in verse number 31st. He said, وَلْيَضْرِبْنَ بِخُمُرِهِنَّ عَلَى جُيُوبِهِنَّ. The word juyub is plural of jaib, which is the chest. The meaning of to draw their veils, the khumur, plural of khimar, from the top, from the head to to cover the chest and down, and to cover the entire body. That would cover also the face, the neck, and so on. Concerning in the same ayah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ إِلَّا مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا, and not to reveal their adornment, except what normally appears as apparent, such as their outer garment, such as the jewelry which are apparent, the eyes, according to the view of the scholar who said that even the face is awra and it should be covered as well. And they have some very, very strong evidences and sound ahadith and proper understanding of the verses of Surah Al-Ahzab and Surah An-Nur, relying on the interpretation of many of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, including Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, whom the Prophet ﷺ said that he prayed for him, اللهم فقهه في الدين وعلمه التأويل, and he was known among the companions as Turjuman al-Quran. Some people argue and said, well, the issue of فَاسْأَلُوهُنَّ مِنْ وَرَاءِ حِجَابٍ was concerning the wives of the Prophet ﷺ.
So coming to them from behind the veil is regarding just the wives.
Well, we have to understand that also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the same surah in verse number 59, He said, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّبِيُّ قُلْ لِأَزْوَاجِكَ وَبَنَاتِكَ وَنِسَاءِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ يُدْنِينَ عَلَيْهِنَّ مِنْ جَلَابِيبِهِنْ. So the order is not for certain kind of people. This is number one. He said, say to your wives, order your wives, your spouses, أزواجك, then وبناتك, and your daughters, then وَنِسَاءِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Because in general the command in the Quran was وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ. You should begin by your family members, your close relatives first. Then the ruling is general, to be generalized on the women and the females of the entire ummah. There is no specific hukm for this wife because she was the Prophet's daughter, because she was the Prophet's wife. Also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ذَلِكَ أَدْنَا أَن يُعْرَفْنَا فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ. They should be recognized as modest women, as pure, in order not to be annoyed. Because a woman who would wear the proper hijab, she would be known as a respectable woman, a free woman, not a slave, not a servant, or not a woman who's shown her flesh in order to be bought in the market or sold for prostitution or any other illicit relationship. A woman who respects herself, that defeats the argument of the seculars who say that, well, woman's respect and woman's honor is not in her body, is not in covering her body and flesh, but is in her heart, in the mind, in her intellect, in respect in her. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says a respectable woman, a woman who will be covered totally. ذَلِكَ أَدْنَا أَن يُعْرَفْنَا فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ. Nowadays, in Muslim countries, in almost all the Muslim countries, while there is sexual harassment and so many lawsuits that women, her sisters are filing and their families against some people because he was harassing her sexually or he was picking on her. Why? Because she's not dressed properly. When a woman is wearing the proper hijab, this is an ad. It's an advertisement. Do not come near to me. I'm not one of them. But when a woman is wearing tight clothes, showing her flesh, making sure that she is tempting to others, then she's not one of the believing women, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, ذَلِكَ أَدْنَا أَن يُعْرَفْنَا فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ. That applies to those sisters who may wear the hijab or the niqab and cover the entire body, but they're drawing their eyebrows and their eyelids and wearing some decorations in their faces and makeup, calling on everybody to look at in between the veil at their eyes. This is also haram. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا يَضْرِبْنَا بِأَرْجُلِهِنَّ, He asked them not to strike with their feet because they used to wear anklets. So if they walk with it, it would make noise, it would alert people that there is a woman here.
And draw attention to herself.
What about the high heels? On the marble. So the hijab is what conceals, what covers, what screens. It should be spacious, loose. It should be covering totally, not see-through. It should not be tight, revealing the details of the body.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Okay, first we've got Brother Shakil from the United Arab Emirates. Brother, Jazakallah khair for holding on. You're live and Ask Huda. Your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I have a few questions all related to credit cards.
Okay.
Question 1, is the use of credit cards allowed provided the user settles his balance before the time limit after which the interest is imposed? And more or less related with the first question, with the same credit card, the user can receive air miles for each purchase, and these air miles can be redeemed later on for a free ticket. What is the ruling on using such cards?
Okay.
And the third question, is it allowed to make payment of a Hajj package through a credit card?
Okay.
That's it. Jazakallah khair.
وجزاكم.
Barakallah fiqh. That's Brother Shakil there from the United Arab Emirates. Okay, next we have Sister Mahavish from the United Arab Emirates. Sister, your life, and ask her your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Yes, my question is regarding that I have read a lot of hadith regarding fulfilling the ties of kinship. Now, I exactly want to know which people are included in the bond of kinship.
Okay.
Like, for example, I've got a very huge family, mashallah. Like, you know, I've got a grandmother and then her sister and then, you know, her kids and then their kids. So, how many people are exactly involved in the tie of kinship, and how do I have to fulfill it? Like, do I have to call them on every monthly basis, or exactly how? This is my question.
Okay. Jazakallah, Sister. Sister Mahavish from the United Arab Emirates. Jazakallah, Sister, for that question there. Okay, let's get back to some of these questions here. We've got a question from Brother Khurshid from the United Arab Emirates. Can we write Bismillah either in Arabic or an English translation on wedding invitation cards? He was saying that he doesn't think this is appropriate because people throw them away, sometimes in the bin and so forth. They don't respect this, and it's got the name of Allah involved. Are we allowed to write Bismillah, whether it's Arabic or English, on cards?
Discarding the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether was it written individually by itself or in a verse or in a hadith, is a major sin. And that's why the person has to see whom he's going to distribute the invitation card to. Is he going to distribute them amongst people whom he believes that they're going to honor this invitation because it has the name of Allah? And if they decided to get rid of it, they will shred it and they will burn the word of Allah or the ayah. Normally, on the invitation cards related to weddings, they will write the verse of Surah Al-Rum, أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا, in the verse. So there is a verse in the Quran. Not too many people pay attention to that. So if you assume that these people are alert and educated and they're going to respect that, write it as a means of seeking the blessing and as a reminder, giving da'wah as well, writing this verse or another hadith. But if you assume that the people, or most of them, or some of them would receive the invitation, would not treat it with respect, then you should not write it. To avoid misusing a word, the paper or the card which has any of the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or His beautiful names on it.
And what about if they're in English? Is the same concept applies?
Well, it doesn't apply, but if you are writing a verse and you're giving the interpretation of the verse out of respect, once again, whatever I said just a little earlier applies here as well.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Okay, I've got a question here from Brother Fadl Rahman. He wants to know about the name Zulfa. It's for a woman. He wants to know, what does it mean, Shaykh?
Well, it was mentioned in the context where the disbelievers, the Meccan pagans, said concerning the idols that they used to worship instead of Allah. They said, مَا نَعْبُدُهُمْ إِلَّا أَنْ يُقَرِّبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ زُلْفَى. We're only worshipping them as a means of approach to take us near to Allah. So the word Zulfa literally means qurba, or means of approach. If you're asking me that you're gonna name somebody this name, I would not advise you. There are beautiful names that carry meanings, okay? Unfortunately, many of our brothers and sisters as well, whenever they are carried away, whenever they receive a baby and they want to call him or her, they open the Quran. And any word they like, they just name the baby with it. It could be a masculine, they name it to a feminine, and vice versa. And the most amazing thing is when I heard that somebody named his daughter Lava, because it sounded as a feminine name. And it is, but Lava is a blazing fire. So make sure before you give a name to your new son or daughter that you choose a beautiful name, because names are like vehicles and vessels that carry the meanings and the traits even in the future for the person who have been named after.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Okay, we've got a second question from the brother. A very important question, actually. He's talking about a particular salah. He wants to know, is it from the sunnah? The name of the salah is Salatul Awabin. He said that it's to be prayed between the Maghrib and Isha salah. He wants some more information. Is this something from the sunnah, Sheikh?
First of all, in fiqh Salat al-Awabin, once we say Salat al-Awabin, it refers to Salat al-Duha. There's so many sound ahadith in that regard. For instance, in Sahih Imam Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ said, Salatul Awwabin hina tarmadul fisal. Al-Fisal is plural of Fasil. Al-Fasil is a baby camel. Tarmad, you remember we said Ramadan was named Ramadan after the condition, the climate of this season when it was very, very hot. So Ramadan, the excessive heat in the desert. Tarmadul Fisal, once it is really the hottest point of the day. That's like half hour to an hour before midday, before the noon prayer. This is the hottest. So the baby camels keep lifting their hoofs from the burning sand. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, Salatul Fisali, Salatul Al-Awwabina hina tarmad al-Fisal. And it's referring to Salatul Duha. In the Indo-Pak community, it's very common that Salatul Awabin is a prayer to be offered between Maghrib and Isha. 6 prayers, 6 rak'ahs, 8 rak'ahs. There are some weak ahadith. There is one hadith, for instance, narrated by Imam al-Tirmidhi that says that whoever offers 6 rak'ahs between Maghrib and Isha, it will be recorded for him as the worship of 12 years. Oh, no. These ahadith, we cannot verify their authenticity. They're not sound. That's why supposedly when we say Salatul Awabin, it refers to Salatul Duha. But if anybody wants to offer any prayer as nafl between Maghrib and Isha, most welcome. They also said, why was it called Salatul Awabin? Because concerning the prayer between Maghrib and Isha, those who believe in it, I think also Imam Shawkani mentioned that, because not too many people pay attention to it, to the prayer between Maghrib and Isha. And nafl in general is recommended throughout the day and the night. But mainly, Salatul Awabin is referring to Salatul Duha. And the best time is half hour before the sun moves away from its meridian. Or an hour before, whenever it is really the hottest point of the day. It's okay to pray between Maghrib and Isha as many rak'ahs as you want.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, brother Abu Ridwan from Kuwait had several questions for us. And the first, he says, in my area they pray combined prayers. That they combine the prayers when it rains or floods. Yeah. He says when it's cloudy or damp conditions, they don't do this. And what he means by this is when it's cloudy, it's raining a bit, but not heavy rain. He goes, what are the rulings for this prayer to be combined?
Concerning combining the prayer, we have to understand the reason for this ruling. Okay. Why do you combine the prayer? First of all, the original case and condition is, the principle is, that everybody must offer the prayer on its fixed time, and before its time is out. Allah the Almighty says in the Quran, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ كَانَتْ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ كِتَابًا and مَوْقُوتًا. Okay? Written, ordained, and on fixed times. That's the meaning of mawqutan. So that is a divine command in the Quran. But due to difficulty and hardship, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed us to shorten the prayers, the 4 rak'ahs, and combine certain prayers together. The prayers which are to be combined, the Dhuhr and Asr at the time of either one of them, Al-Maghrib and Al-Isha at the time of either one of them. Sometimes we may combine the prayers while not traveling. So shortening the prayer is only while traveling. But combining the prayer mainly during traveling, and also whenever it's necessary due to difficulty, hardship, such as heavy rain. Heavy rain that would not allow me to go to the masjid and offer the prayer. So what if a woman is not praying in the masjid? Then there is no combining to the prayer for her. But the people prayed Maghrib in the masjid and now it's raining bad. So the Imam would get to combine the Isha along with the Maghrib and say, you don't have to come, pray the Isha or the Maghrib and say you don't have to come for Isha. The masjid will be closed. That is valid. There is also in case of fear. There is also in case of sickness. Such as when a patient takes a medication, he or she goes to sleep due to the medication for hours. Yes, you may take it before, you may pray Dhuhr and Asr together at the time of Dhuhr. Then once again, whenever it is due to take the second dose and you're going to fall asleep again, you get up at the time of Maghrib or Isha, and you combine these two prayers together, and then there is no blame on you. That also applies to surgeons. Surgeons who operate in long surgeries, open heart surgery, which takes them hours. So before going to the operating room, if it is already the prayer time of Dhuhr or Maghrib, then they may combine the following prayer along with it. And this way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us ease with regards to offering the ibadat. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Allah wants to give you ease. Allah doesn't want to make things hard and difficult upon you.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Okay, Brother Abu Ridwan had another question. He's from Kuwait, and he's asking about the tashahhud, about raising the finger. He wants to know, how do we go about doing this? What's the correct way of doing this, Shaykh?
This is an issue which people take it as a cornerstone in the prayer. They keep asking this question over and over and over. And I bet you this is not the last time we're going to answer this question. It's going to be answered. It's going to be asked over and over again. Well, I hope this answer would give you some comfort and peace of mind. Before I say a word with regards to pointing with the index finger during the tashahhud, whether the middle or the last, this is a hay'ah. What is the meaning of hay'ah? Hay'ah, this is one of the form of offering the prayer, which does not affect the validity of the prayer by any means. Nor does it even decrease the reward, even if you don't do it, period. As long as you fulfill the arkan, the wajibat, and the nawafil or the sunan of the salah, then your salah is perfect. The most important thing after fulfilling the arkan and al-wajibat is al-khushu', is tranquility, paying attention to whatever you're saying in the prayer. That's the most important part. So now, the answer of the question. Al-Imam Muslim, may Allah have mercy on him, collected a sound hadith that in it the Prophet ﷺ وضع يده اليمنى على ركبته اليمنى وعقد 53. So he placed his right hand on his right thigh and he made with his fingers 53, 50, then 3. Then he pointed وأشار بالسبابة, and he pointed with the index finger. That's as-sababa. He just said pointed. He never mentioned anything about moving up and down, back and forth, right and left. He did not mention anything like that. There is another hadith that's narrated by Wa'il ibn Hujr, and it's collected by Ahmad wal Nasa'i, wal Tirmidhi, and others. In this hadith, hadith Wa'il ibn Hujr, he said the Prophet ﷺ قبض ثنتين من أصابعه. He folded 2 of his fingers. وحلق حلقة, and he made a ring. Okay. ثم رفع إصبعه, then he raised السبابة. فرأيته يحركها يدعو بها. Wa'il ibn Hujr said, and I have seen the Prophet ﷺ was moving this finger while he was making dua. Just this statement, the scholars differed with its interpretation, because he did not show us. We did not have a video showing how he used to move it. So Malik, may Allah have mercy on him, says يحركها right and left like that. And others said no. Al-Imam Abu Hanifa, for example, may Allah have mercy on him, says that it's only prescribed to raise the finger, to move it only when we say Allah, Allah ilaha illallah, Anna Muhammad Rasulullah. At the word illa, ashhadu an la ilaha illa, except. So except, I'm sorry, the word Allah, which is the negation, the nullification. Okay. While Imam al-Shafi'i says the opposite. No, you should only raise the finger once you come to say the word Allah. And that's it. You don't raise it in any other position. Al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, or the school of Al-Hanabila, said you keep raising the finger. You keep raising the finger throughout the entire tashahhud. So we see that every madhab or every school of thought has its own description concerning how to move it. As I said in the beginning, that doesn't hurt, that doesn't affect the prayer. The closest to that is what Al-Hanabila said, is just to keep pointing with the finger throughout the entire tashahhud.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Okay, we're going to take 2 calls and we're going to take a break. Sister Nahal first from Egypt. Sister, you're live and ask her your question, please. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My question is the riba of a lecture person who is known for his lecture permissible?
Sorry, could you repeat that question, sister?
He's known of what?
for his lechery or his immorality?
The ghiba.
Okay. Okay, Jazakallah khair, Sister Nahal there from Egypt. Next we have Sister Shamim from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Sister, you're live and ask her your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I just want to ask because I'm here in Saudi Arabia, I'm working here, and my brother is from Pakistan, he's coming for Hajj. And I don't have my mother and father, so I have three sisters younger than me, they are at home. So my brother, he came here for Hajj, and here for my sisters, with them now at the moment nobody is there. So what I just wanted to ask, my brother, he came, even he has responsibility for my best sister. They are alone at home now. So what about in this state he came for Hajj, or he should wait to marry them, and after that he should perform Hajj?
Okay.
He's already there, right?
Okay. I think he's coming from, yeah, okay, I got the question there for you, inshallah. Jazakallah, Sheikh. Okay, yeah, Jazakallah, Sister Shamim there from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. With that, we're going to take a short break, and inshallah return in a couple of minutes. Please do stay with us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You know, sometimes it's important to take a break. We need to take a break. Take a break from what? From the everyday things to look at what we're really doing as Muslims. That's why we said we really need to have this program for you and for me to take a break right here on Huda TV. Stay with us because we've got a lot coming up on Take a Break.
And if you look into the early tafsir, early exegesis of the Quran, you will find that all the Mufassirin were trying to find out where are the seven earths. Earthquakes, natural or artificial, can delineate the boundaries between seven different zones within the earth. The conclusion that we have seven different layers within the earth came to notice only in the 20th century. The true believer would prostrate down in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The blessings of that prostration will reach the seventh earth.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Ask Huda. Just remind you of our telephone numbers very quickly. Country code is 202, then it's 38555, 248 and 249. Okay, straight on to the phone. Sister Sabah from Canada. Sister, you're live on Ask Huda. Your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Brother, I have three questions.
Okay.
The first question is, actually my husband, he's the one who, he shaves his beard, right? And I have told him numerous times not to do it, but he still keeps doing it. He says, it's his appearance and his work and everything. But my question is, that we do udhiyah, the slaughtering of animals at the time of Eid, and we are not going on Hajj. I would like to know that should he do, those 10 days you're not supposed to shave your beard or anything. So on based on the whole family, can it be done on behalf? Can I do it? The money is his, but can can it be done on mine? Can you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I've got the question, yeah.
Sister Saba, allow me to say this is a very smart move from you.
Okay, Jazakallah.
Okay, Jazakallah. And second, second question is, I heard that, women can pay zakat to their parents if their parents are eligible for zakat. Is this true?
Okay.
Okay. And my third question is that are women allowed, what's the difference between Zoha prayer and the Ishraq prayer? Is there a difference between the two?
And Duha. Okay.
Okay, Jazakallah.
Barakallah fiqh. Sister Sabada from Canada, and to all of our viewers watching us from the internet, Jazakallah khair for your company. We really do appreciate it, and we appreciate your calls. And if you want to watch us live, you can, www.huda.tv. Okay, next we have Brother Samir from Egypt. Brother, you're live on Ask Huda. Your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My daughter will be reached to 1 year after 1 week. Just want to ask if I make celebration, invite my brother and my sister to for food, invitation like food.
For a birthday party.
Sorry?
For a birthday party.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, brother. We got the question there. Brother Samir there from Egypt. Jazakallah khair for your call, brother. We really do appreciate your question. Okay, let's get back to some of these questions. Alright, Brother Abu Ridwan was asking about the prophets. He was saying that in the Quran you get mentioned the name of many of the people of the different prophets, but he doesn't mention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't speak about the Qawm of Yusuf, for the people of Yusuf. Why is that so, he's asking, Shaykh?
Well, first of all, Yusuf alayhi salam's name was mentioned in the Quran 20 times. 19 of them were mentioned in the surah which was named after his name, Surah Yusuf alayhi salam, which contains the best of all the stories. نَحْنُ نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ أَحْسَنَ الْقَصَصِ. And then the 20th was mentioned in Surah Ghafir in verse number 40. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ يُوسُفُ مِنْ قَبْلُ بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ فَمَا زِلْتُمْ فِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهُ حَتَّى إِذَا هَلَكَ قُلْتُمْ لَنْ يَبْعَثَ اللَّهُ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ رَسُولًا. The sister, or the question is referring to that there are other prophets whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned about their people. He said, يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُمْ مِنْ إِلَهٍ غَيْرُ, etc. Such as في Surah Al-A'raf repeatedly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for instance says, وَإِلَى عَادٍ أَخَاهُمْ هُودًا, and He sent Hud to his people, Ad. وَإِلَى ثَمُودَ أَخَاهُمْ صَالِحًا وَإِلَى مَدْيَنَ أَخَاهُمْ شُعَيْبًا, etc. Why He did not say about Yusuf alayhi salam? The answer is not really an answer. Rather, it's just some sharing, some feeling about it. By the way, the Quran talks about 25 prophets. It did not cover all the prophets. There are hundreds, thousands. There's not a single nation but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to them a warrior, a messenger, or a prophet. And we mentioned before that there is a difference between a prophet and a messenger, a Nabi or Rasul. Sayyiduna Yusuf alayhi salam was not sent with an independent message, nor did he receive a book or a revelation that is separate, because he was an extension for the message of his father, Jacob, or Israel, peace be upon him. Because his father, Yaqub alayhi salam, he is the father of the Israelites. He had 12 children, Joseph and Benjamin, from one mother, from one wife. Then the other 10 who plotted against these two from another wife. And by the way, Jacob, peace be upon him, his name was also Israel, which means Allah's servant. He believed in plural marriage, and he was married to two, and to two sisters. So Sayyiduna Yaqub alayhi salam had Yusuf, and Yusuf was an extension, his message was an extension to the message of Yaqub alayhi salam. But they all shared the same, which was اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره. And we can understand that clearly from Surah Yusuf, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that Yusuf alayhi salam gave da'wah in the prison. He said, يا صاحبي السجن أأرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار ما تعبدون من دونه إلا أسماء. The verses of Surah Yusuf. So the mission is the same, but why Allah did not mention about the people of Yusuf, or why did not Allah say Qawm Yusuf? Allah knows best. It was just a clarification that Yusuf alayhi salam was an extension of the message of his father Yaqub alayhim jami'an as-salam.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Okay, Sister Sabrina, you're next from the United Arab Emirates. You're live on Ask Huda. Your question, please.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam.
Sheikh, I just wanted to ask you, like, I've heard from people that you should follow only one mazhab. So I just wanted to know, what is the ruling about it? Is it that we have to follow only a mazhab, or just follow the Quran and Sunnah? Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
Okay,
Wa jazakum.
Jazakallah khair. Sister Sabrina there from the United Arab Emirates. Okay, now this is the time we go through some of your questions from the SMS. Of course, you can send us questions through the SMS. It should be on the bottom of your screen, the number for your country. Send it in, and we'll be tackling some of those. We've got a question in here from Sister Marwan from Egypt, Sheikh. Is it permissible to perform prayers while wearing shoes? Is a question.
Let me just correct one thing, because I believe Marwan has got to be a brother. Okay?
Okay.
We don't want anyone to get offended. We'll try our best. We're dealing with different accents, with different dialects, and mashallah, you're doing an excellent job. May Allah bless you. I don't know without you what I'll be doing. Okay. The question again is
it permissible to perform prayers while wearing shoes?
Yes, it is permissible, and there are sound hadith that the Prophet ﷺ used to pray in his boots, in his shoes, and once he took them off in the prayer, so the companions followed him, and after the prayer he noticed that they did take off their shoes. He said, why did you do that? They said, Ya Rasulullah, we thought it's a must because we noticed that you did take off your shoes. He said, no, it was Jibreel came to me in the prayer and said that take them off because they have some impurities. So otherwise, if they're clean, it is permissible to pray wearing them.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, got a question here from Sister Saria. Okay, you can tell me if that's correct or not. She says, can a child perform Hajj, pilgrimage that is, of course, before attaining the age of maturity?
Absolutely. A woman once had a child during the farewell Hajj of the Prophet ﷺ. She raised him before him and said, Ya Rasulullah, Ali hada Hajj. She showed him the baby, the child, and she said, is there a valid Hajj for this? He said, Naam, walaki ajr. Yes, there is a valid Hajj, and you shall receive a reward as well for assisting him. But this Hajj, it counts as Hajj, but not as Hajjatul Islam. It does not make up for the main Fard Hajj, because the Faridah is mandatory once the person reach the puberty age. So that means when he or she reaches the puberty age, they're required to perform another Hajj that is known as the main pillar of the Islam, Hajjatul Islam. And if you have a child whom you're accompanying to perform Hajj, my advice is, number one, do not take babies 2, 1, 3 years old, because they suffer, and the parents suffer as well, and we do suffer as well for those who are performing Hajj, seeing and witnessing the cries of infants and little babies. So if you can have somebody to look after them, it's better, because it's very, very crowded and a lot of kids die. This is not something that's good to see, that your son or your daughter die and you say that they died at the haram. You could have avoided that. Alhamdulillah, it's a qadr, and it is preordained, whatever happens. But we're taking the precautions as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have advised us. Whatever Allah the Almighty has preordained is going to take place. But وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَنفُسِكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. Second, if you're taking a child who realizes the arkan, the Hajj rites, then he should follow you, he or she, wear the ihram if it is a boy, and do the same, and avoid the restrictions of ihram if they are mumayyiz. Mumayyiz, they know what's right and what's wrong, they comply. But if they're too young, you still dress them in ihram and you carry them in your tawaf, and you do the same for them, such as shortening the hair or shaving the hair, etc.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Okay, I've got a question here now. It's the last one from the SMS. Now it joins up with a question we had from Brother Aslam from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So we're going to sort of tie those questions in. Is it permissible for a Muslim that holds a business loan to perform Hajj and Umrah? And the brother's question was very similar. If we have any loans, do we have to settle them before we make Hajj or Umrah, Sheikh?
Remember, I asked you, are they due immediately or past due? Or are they due in the future on installments which you are capable to pay on time? Because it makes all the difference. If they are due immediately or past due, then you should begin by settling your loan and paying off your debt. If they are due in the future on installments, and you have no problem paying them because you have a steady income, or you know that you have enough to pay them off and meanwhile perform Hajj, then you should perform Hajj. There is another thing, which is, what if I'm in debt I have a loan to pay. Do I have to perform Hajj in this condition? No, you're exempted if you don't have enough for the cost of Hajj. That's separate from settling your debt and paying off your loan. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. Hajj to the ancient house, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is a duty upon mankind for those who can afford it, who have the means, the financial means and the physical means. So financial means, that means you don't have any commitment such as loans or debts, you begin by them. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam refused to lead the funeral prayer for one of his companions who died in his life, because he died while he owed somebody some money, until one of the companions said, I will pay it on his behalf. It's very important to understand that حقوق العباد are superior in this regard. You should settle your loans and debts before performing Hajj. But if Allah blessed you with extra, that you can leave money for your family and money to settle your loans and your debts, and you have enough to perform Hajj properly, you don't have to go and sleep in the streets or beg from people to give you or not to give you. No, if you have means to give you an affordable, comfortable Hajj, then Hajj is a must in this condition.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Okay, we've got a question for Sister Khadija from Egypt. She's asking about middle names. Are they allowed to have as Muslims, Shaykh?
I don't understand the question. I don't really know what's the meaning of middle names. If you mean that Muhammad, Salah, Umar, that's permissible. The Prophet ﷺ has a middle name. Every person has a chain of names that go all the way to his great ancestors and grandparents, grandfathers, of course, and so on. But maybe she means something else. Please send us a verification if you really mean something else with the middle name.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, got Brother Maqsood's question from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He says, I'm a doctor and I have to see patients, of course, and give them advice sometimes. He says, I met a patient and find out her problems related from her husband having an affair out of the marriage, of course. He also is a Shia, that's what he's been told. What advice should this doctor give to his patient, Sheikh?
There was a sister in the beginning of this episode asked about inflammations during ihram and so on. If I'm going to advise her, I'm going to say, check with a doctor. They know better. A dermatologist, that is their profession, right? So if you are a physician, if you are a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and you have a patient who is asking about a problem in their life that's related to halal and haram, then right away redirect them personally to a sheikh, to a local sheikh. Or maybe you have a consultant or a sheikh that who is a very close friend to you, or you pick up the phone and you ask him in order to convince your patient with the answer, etc. But I'm very pleased and I'm very impressed that you called to inquire, but this is a general advice, because some people, whenever they are in the position of being asked and requested to pay an advice, they do not hesitate to advise, whether right or wrong. When it comes to religion and do and do not do, then we have to listen to the opinion of the Shara, not the personal opinion. So may Allah bless you in the beginning for asking this question, in order to give us the opportunity to teach all the viewers a very important lesson, that if your car breaks down, you know where to take it. Some people will not take it to other than the dealers. Even if he has a Mercedes, he will not take it to BMW dealer. Why? Specific. Speciality. This is my field and this is your field. So we have to respect that totally. It is very dangerous to advise with regards to the deen and halal and haram based on your personal experience or your personal individual assumption or what you think. Now the sister is inquiring about some problems are caused to her because of her husband who is a Shia. We handled the question of the Shia and the Sunnah repeatedly, and we said there are people who were born Shia and they don't know what Shia and Sunnah. They pray as we do and they have no problem with the Sahaba or the companions. They have no problem with the Quran. They have no problem with the sound Hadith. Just average Muslims. Such people are Muslims. But if there is a person who addresses the companions of the Prophet ﷺ with falsehood, with foolishness, this person, I will never give him my daughter or any Muslim woman in marriage, because I don't consider him one of us. So now we have to differentiate based on each individual case. If we have somebody, whether a Shia, Qadianis, Baha'is, Mu'tazila, or whatever, who says that the Quran is not complete, the Quran in our hands isn't complete, then I will not differentiate between him, the Jews and the Christians and the atheists. He's a non-believer. To me, he's not Muslim. He is not Muslim. So it's not permissible to give him my daughter or any Muslim woman in marriage. وَلَا تُنْكِحُوا الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَتَّى يُؤْمِنُوا. So he's a mushrik. So now there are serious questions that have to be answered before giving the answer. What does he believe in? How does he behave? Does he pray like us? Does he fulfill the rest of the pillars of the deen? What's his stand from the companions, from the Quran? The main differences between the Shia and the Sunnah. So if these questions are answered, we'll be able to give the proper answer, and Allah knows best.
Jazakallah Shaykh for all your answers today. Thank you very much. Okay, that's the end of this episode of Ask Huda. If you've got a question, or even a bit of a detailed question, please send us an email at ask@huda.tv. Well, until next time, we both leave you with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
If my love is attached to thee, then from sins I will be free. Each time my heart will beat, your name will resound with heat. Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass